Well, I was raised on a cow outfit just north of Globe, Arizona. We run 750 head of Brangus cows in that country, and I was a cowboy most of my life. My dad trained horses, and summertime we used to come right here to Ruidoso. And when I was a kid, I run many a foot race right outside that grandstand right there. I wasn't quick, but the guys that beat me were really scared of me because I was bigger than them. My dad, he won a world championship in 1942, and he was quite a calf roper and quite a team roper, and he was kind of a legend in our country. Had lots of friends, and then he loved racehorses. He rode a lot of match races and stuff. Yeah, my dad, they had a match race with Wayne Ewing in Payson, Arizona after the rodeo, and that horse was my dad's calf horse, and he had watched Wayne run a couple match races that day, and he had took a willow stick and was whipping his horses with a willow stick, and he'd reach up there and hit them horses in the face of other competitors, and my dad told him, he says, well, I want to make sure you don't do that when I'm in there with you. So just as my dad was getting to the finish line, this mare was going to run by him from what they say, and he reached up and hit her in the face, and naturally she got beat. And they went on by the wire. Well, Wayne went to pulling his horse up, and my dad went to whipping his. And when he went by him, however fast he was going, my dad bailed off of him, and he got in a couple of pretty good ones. In fact, Wayne crawled underneath a pickup to get out of the way from him. So it was pretty Western back in them days. He was tough, you know. We worked. We had a job at that ranch, boy. We didn't mess around, and I was, you know, we lived 30 miles from town on that ranch, and when I got a chance to go to town, I went. And I didn't really want to play football, you know, in college, but I was a pretty good ball player, and I thought, man, this is my only ticket out of here. I'm going to get on the bus, you know. But no, he's a great guy. He was a worker. My dad had a hearing problem. He was deaf since childhood, so working was his enjoyment, you know, and building stuff and fence and stuff like that, and working them cows, and that damn sure wasn't my enjoyment, believe me. When my dad passed away, I was playing ball. I was playing college ball, and he had all these horses in training, and so I had to quit school, and I moved to Bay Meadows with all those horses, with really the intentions of going back to school, you know. And here I sit 30-some-odd years later still training racehorses. A good friend of mine, John Wells, got a bad test up there. And Bobby Adair's father-in-law, Jim Kaufman, asked me to take that stable over. And I can tell you I was a groom back for many, many years, but I'd never trained many horses. And anyway, in that herd of horses was I'm On. And we win the Bay Meadows fraternity that year. That was the start of the whole wreck right there. I come back to Arizona and, you know, spent 20 years in the bushes, you know. I got married and raised a family there, and, you know, until Mr. Hubbard made that fantastic phone call one winter, I'd have probably been still sitting there. I was sitting at home, and Don Ferris called me, and he says, John, would you be interested in, this is after I had run He's a Fast Man that year and got beat a nose in the All-American. And he asked me if I was interested in coming to Ruidoso and training horses, and he really caught me off guard. I didn't know what to say, you know. And I said, well, you know, if I had some, I really don't have the kind of horses to come over. He says, well, Mr. Hubbard wants you to come train his. And so, you know, I said, could I bring a few more with me? He said, sure. So that's what started it all. We went on to the All-American, and naturally, you know that you draw your positions to draw your positions. And so, as we drew our positions, I was last to draw. So in actuality, I wasn't going to get a draw. I was going to get what was left. Well, I had just won the Rainbow with Delightful Dasher out of the one hole, and they give it back to him. I couldn't understand that because there were several trainers in there, had 2 or 3 in there. You'd have thought they'd said, hey, get Bassett out there in some traffic, you know. And when I seen the one hole stay open, I said, Lord mercy, thank you, Lord. And we went right back in there and got lucky and won the All-American.
And on the far outside, a familiar faces. It is Significant Speed with a narrowly a Delightful Dasher coming. A Delightful Dasher. And chicks call me in a photo with Significant Speed. It's very close in the All-American futurity.
I tell you what, a usual suspect. What a tough horse, boy. We'd run him in the Rainbow, and he'd qualified for the Constellation. And I talked Mr. Thurwanger into not running him back, and we made the finals of the All-American, and we didn't pull up very good. And in fact, we didn't pull up at all. And we didn't we didn't get to go back to the racetrack with him or nothing. And I had a kid, Dennis Means, was taking care of me that summer. Joe Badil was flying in, riding all his horses. And I told Dennis, I said, if I ever get lucky enough this summer to qualify a couple, you're welcome to ride one, because he worked his butt off for us. So anyway, long story short, we got 3 in the finals that year. And I told Dennis, when he got on that horse, I said, Dennis, this horse is not the soundest thing in the world, Now you can take off, do what you want to. He says, no, I'm riding him. And I tell you what, he rode him like he was made of iron, but that horse run a heck of a race.
And there they go in the All-American Futurity. A brisk beginning for Phenomenal Fantasy down the center. Running bravely in second is Trace Sace. A length back to the outside runner, a usual suspect. And in fourth are Dusty's Chick. Trace Sace is putting down the power run on the inside. Trace Sace, a usual suspect to the extreme outside. And Miss Wanda's Fortune. Trace Sace to the inside. A usual suspect came on strong. May have won the All-American Futurity.
I tell you what, One Famous Eagle, it took him a while. He was the kind of horse, when I first got him over there, he qualified real good, and the first time I run him, he run 5th, and he was a big, lanky, stringy horse, and it just took him some time to grow up, Second time I run him, he run 3rd, just running over horses, and then I run him in the trials of the Golden State, and same thing, just running over horses. And then finally in the 2 million, he finally learned how to leave that gate.
The fastest qualifier for this year's Los Alamitos 2 Million is number 7, One Famous Eagle, who is owned by the Burnett Ranches Limited and Johnny Trotter and trained by John Bassett. In the saddle is jockey Saul Ramirez. And away they go in the Los Alamitos 2 Million Futurity, and the one who came away the best from the extreme outside is My Lady First, also Magic Show Check, and now running on strongly is I for Corona. One Famous Eagle with that long stride. He's trying to close in as well as I for Corona. And now One Famous Eagle's coming in fast. On the inside is Magic Show Check. And One Famous Eagle gets that nose down just on the wire to take the Los Alamitos 2 Million Futurity with I for Corona, Magic Show Check, and a very close photo for second. But it's John Bassett again in the 2 million.
He come back at 3, and the first time he was undefeated all year and got beat in the champions. But I truly believe that horse, I had to run derby trials, and all those derbies that horse win that year. And it's like taking a bullet out of the gun. If I didn't have to run those trials for those derbies, I think I could have won the champions with him. But I just took too much out of that horse. And by the time the champion rolled around, my pistol was empty. But God bless my wife. If it wasn't for her, I probably couldn't have got this all done. We'd leave on a Friday night and go off to them places like St. John's and Kingman and stuff, and she'd be pulling horses behind me, and I'd be pulling horses, and them kids would be running back and forth over them seats, and she'd take care of them all weekend, and we'd load up to come home, and the girls weren't bad, but Bear, he'd get back in there, he'd be covered from one end to the other with mud or dirt and pissed his pants, and it was a battle. We'd get home at midnight, she'd bathe them kids and feed them, and next morning she'd have them kids up ready to roll, so God bless her. She's a big success number in John Bassett's book. I'm pulling for Bear, and he's really a good hand. Good kid, a lot smarter than his dad. But he's had some good horses. He's done some good, and he's damn sure a good horseman, Where it goes from here, it just depends on what walks in that barn, and in that fall of that year, that's what takes you there. I really and truly believe that the majority of us trainers are about that far away from each other. If you get a horse that's a little crippled or something, you might have an advantage because you're experienced at it, But it's that horse. That horse takes you to those places and gets you to the promised land, believe me. We've got a place there in Dewey, Arizona, just south of Prescott, and we break all our babies there. And hey, I have a great time with these horses, and I love these 2-year-olds, and the majority of our horses are 2-year-olds. We take a lot of pride in taking one of those colts that's just halter broke and making a world champion out of him. And I've been very blessed with 7 of them. So, it's my life. It's what I do. And my wife loves that life. It's given me the financial stability to raise my family, and I owe everything I got to the racing business. I'm going to stick around until they run me off, I guess. Till Dee says, we've had enough of you, boy, go back.